This episode is brought to you by The Build, a new podcast from the guys behind Sincera, Mike O'Sullivan and Ian Myers. They built their company by figuring out clever solutions to a few important ad tech problems in their industry. And that's exactly what this show is about. Mike and Ian interview some of the smartest tech minds in the biz to hear about how they identified opportunities, solved their hardest challenges, and grew their businesses in the process. Listen to The Build with Mike O'Sullivan wherever you get your podcasts. This episode is sponsored by Plod AI. We've all been there. You're days away from a deadline and you remember a brilliant idea from a brainstorming session, but you can't find it in your notes. It's frustrating, confusing, and frankly, a waste of time. Recently, I've integrated Plod AI, that's P-L-A-U-D, into my daily workflow, and it's a game changer for staying organized. Plod isn't just an app, it's a hardware-software powerhouse. I use the Note Pro for phone calls, Note Pen for my in-person meetings, and the new Plod desktop app for all my virtual sessions. With one click, it records everything and generates an accurate, searchable transcript. But the real magic is the Ask Plod feature. I can literally ask questions about a meeting from 3 weeks ago and get an instant answer. It turns every conversation into a searchable asset for me and my team. Stop taking notes and focus. Turn your meetings into actionable insights with the world's most advanced AI note taker. Learn more at plod.ai. That's Plaud.ai. And use the promo code CODESTORY, all one word, to get up to 20% off your purchase.
2015, we were building an IoT platform. We needed a database to store all the sensor data we were collecting from our customers, over 100,000 devices. One of my engineers, who's still at the company 12 years later, was like, hey, I think I could build this and it'll take me a month. And I'm like, cool, you're an optimistic engineer. It'll probably take 3 months. 12 months later, 12 months later, we had this database and that was the MVP. It was really a Postgres extension. And as soon as we launched it, we had more press in the first 3 weeks than we had in the last year and a half of the IoT platform. Hey, I'm Ajay, co-founder, CEO of Tiger Data.
This is Code Story, a podcast bringing you interviews with tech visionaries.
Spent 6 months moonlighting.
There's nothing on the back end.
Who share what it takes to change an industry.
I don't exactly know what to do
took
next.
many goes to get right.
Who built the teams that have their
A
back.
company is its people.
The teams help each other achieve
Most
more.
proud of our team.
Keeping scalability top of mind.
All that infrastructure was a
Yes,
pain.
we've been fighting it as we grow.
Total waste of time. The stories you don't read in the headlines.
It's not an easy thing to achieve, mind
Took it
you.
off the shelf and dusted it off and tried it again.
To ride the ups and downs of the startup life.
You need to really want it. Not just about technology.
All this and more on Code Story.
I'm your host, Noah Labhart, and today how Ajay Kulkarni created Postgres for sensor and machine data, built for industrial energy and robotics systems. Today's episode is brought to you by .tech Domains, and this one hits close to home. Back in 2016, I was building my startup and went hunting for that perfect .com and found next to nothing. So I did what every founder does, settled. Here's what I wish someone had told me. You're building a tech startup, just get a .tech domain. It instantly tells investors and customers what you're about. Don't overthink it. Secure your .tech domain today from any registrar of your choice. This episode is sponsored by Unblocked. Unblocked is the context layer your agents are missing. It synthesizes your PRs, docs, Slack, and tickets into organizational context that agents actually understand. So they make better plans, write higher quality code, use fewer tokens, and require fewer correction loops. If you're running Claude Code, Cursor, or any agentic workflow, Unblocked is worth a look. Learn more at getunblocked.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by Mesmo. If your team is collecting large volumes of logs, metrics, and traces, but still struggling to get timely answers, Mesmo can help. Mesmo is an active telemetry platform that processes and enriches observability data in real time before it's stored or analyzed. That means lower data volume, lower cost, and faster root cause analysis across your existing observability tools. To see how it works, get a demo at mesmo.com/codestory. That's mezmo.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by BrainGrid. If you are building with AI coding tools, but your features keep breaking, you need to check out BrainGrid. It is the product management agent for AI builders. BrainGrid turns messy ideas into clear specs, tasks, and prompts that coding agents like Cursor and Claude can actually build the right way. Ship real software, not fragile prototypes. Start free at braingrid.ai. Ajay Kulkarni grew up in tech, as his father was a tech entrepreneur selling PCs in the early 80s. He went to college at MIT and eventually founded a startup that was acquired by GroupMe, while it was being acquired by Skype, while they were being acquired by Microsoft. He's always been attracted to building things, so startups are right up his alley. But outside of tech, he is married with 2 young kids. He is a big exercise guy. He loves to run, swim, and track his steps. Additionally, he loves music, to listen and to play guitar, piano, and drums. Ajay and his co-founder met 30 years ago at MIT. They reconnected after years of doing their own thing, starting to dig into the IoT world. In doing this, they built a database because they needed the best solution to store this type of data. And in doing so, they unlocked their next venture out of this necessity. This is the creation story of Tiger Data.
The story of Tiger Data actually starts in September 1997. First week of college at MIT, when I was sitting across the table at lunch from my co-founder, Mike. And that's where we met. We actually met, that's almost 30 years ago. And back then, we were both computer science majors. We took the same test at the same time. Always did okay, but Mike always did better. He always got better grades than I did. I think it's very rare that you have a pretty scientific measurement of who is smarter. But I kind of know definitively that Mike is academically smarter than me because he always got better grades. But that's where the story started. We kind of went our separate paths and then stayed in touch, regrouped to start what ended up becoming Tiger Data. We actually started off in IoT, which was this big wave everyone was talking about maybe 10, 12 years ago, Internet of Things. We built a product to store sensor data for devices. As a result, I needed to build our own database for that behind the platform. We realized that the database was solving a bigger problem than the platform itself. And then we kind of relaunched this timescale, and that's when things really took off. So it's a classic example of we built a better mousetrap because we needed it. We scratched our own itch, so to speak. And when we did that, we realized a lot of people had the same problem. And that's really unlocked the story of Tiger Data. Company was called Timescale. Our mascot was always a tiger. Why a tiger? We wanted to make the database feel approachable, and a lot of people pick different animals. Postgres is an elephant. MySQL is a dolphin. We like tiger because tigers are powerful and fast, like our database. We like the tiger timescale alliteration. And then we realized that I think 4 of the first 6 people on the team all had Princeton connections. Mike's a professor there. Some of the other folks were PhDs and postdocs at Princeton, and the Princeton mascot is the tiger. And so that kind of sealed it. And over the years, we became more than a time series database. We're doing a lot more than what the name Timescale indicated. And we decided we need to change our name, not to change who we were, but to properly reflect who we had become. Tiger is always our mascot. Company was called Timescale. And then we just made our name Tiger Data. Timescale DB still exists as a sub-brand, but we didn't change we don't have to change our logo. We didn't change any of our colors. So it's a pretty smooth transition, but that's where the tiger comes from. And you know what? Like internally, we've always described ourselves as tigers. Like our weekly all hands is called Tiger Time. When new people join the company, they're called Tiger Cubs. When people join the company, we say, welcome to the jungle. I think the tiger was always a theme internally, and making it our official name was like the most natural.
I'm curious then about what you would consider the MVP, and perhaps this is Timescale, but I'm curious how you're going to shape this story. But I want to know about the MVP, the first version of what is now Tiger Data that you built. How long did it take to build, and what sort of tools were you using to bring it to life?
So 2015, we were building an IoT platform. we needed a database to store all the sensor data we were collecting from our customers, over 100,000 devices. And we used a few off-the-shelf databases and it didn't work. Like the databases did not. And at this point, one of my engineers, who's still at the company 12 years later, was like, hey, I think I could build this and it'll take me a month. And I'm like, cool, you're an optimistic engineer. It'll probably take 3 months. 12 months later, 12 months later, we had this database and that was the MVP. It was really a Postgres extension. Postgres, really popular database platform, has a framework called extensions. You can think of them almost as super powerful plugins. And it was an open source Postgres extension. And as soon as we launched it, we had more press in the first 3 weeks than we had in the last year and a half of the IoT platform. And I remember thinking, like, I don't know if this is a big idea, but it's definitely better than our previous idea. So let's do it. And so that was the MVP, a Postgres extension to make the database scale for sensor data, time series data.
Okay, let's stay on that for just a minute. In building this, I know you and the team probably had to make certain decisions and trade-offs. Tell me about one of those you had to work through and how you went about building that first version and how you coped with the decision.
Anytime you're solving a problem, whether it's in tech or otherwise, it is very tempting to say, hey, let's just throw everything out and start from scratch. And a lot at that point, especially, a lot of the leading databases were NoSQL databases, and that's what they had done. Mongo, Cassandra, other folks, other database companies, they essentially said, you know what, the relational database model doesn't scale. Let's totally throw it out and start from scratch. And the insight we had was, actually, the relational database model does scale if you do it right. And while it is tempting to throw everything out, maybe we shouldn't throw out the baby with the bathwater, so to speak. What if we actually took the time to improve Postgres to make it scale? And a lot of people were like, it's not worth it. You couldn't do it. It can't be done. But we knew that if we did this, if we did the hard work of actually building on Postgres and making it really scale and really having to work around this old but evolving code base, that it would be an easier experience and a better experience for our customers. So I think that was probably the key thing, is to say, you know what? We're building this on top of Postgres. We're not building from scratch. Yes, there's some effort required, but at the same time, you build on Postgres, you benefit from the 25, now kind of 35 years of development, reliability, stability, ecosystem, versatility. And, you know, Postgres now I think is accepted as the developer's favorite database. 10 years ago, that was not the case, and we made the right bet.
Today's episode is brought to you by .tech domains, and this one hits close to home. Back in 2016, when I was building my own tech startup, I went on the hunt for that elusive .com. Looked high, looked low, and guess what I found? Nothing. What I did find cost me an arm and a leg. So I did what every founder does under pressure. Threw in extra letters, settled for the less than optimal name. And here's what I wish someone had said to me back then. Noah, you're building a tech startup. Just get a .tech domain. Tech startup, .tech domain. It could not be more obvious. It tells investors, customers, and anyone who looks at your website, really, that tech is at the core of your build. And I've kicked myself plenty since, especially when I see the clean and sharp names tech companies have landed on .tech. Nothing.tech, 1x.tech, Aurora.tech, CES.tech, Ultra.tech, Alice.tech, Neon.tech, Blaze.tech, Pi.tech. You get the idea. So take it from someone who learned it the hard way. If you're building a tech startup, don't overthink it. Secure your .tech domain today from any registrar of your choice. This episode is brought to you by The Build, a new podcast from the guys behind Sincera, Mike O'Sullivan and Ian Myers. They built their company by figuring out clever solutions to a few important ad tech problems in the industry, and that's exactly what this show is about. Mike and Ian interview some of the smartest tech minds at Magnite, Chalice, DoubleClick, and LiveRamp to hear about how they identified opportunities, solved their hardest challenges, and grew their businesses in the process. This show is for you if you've had some of these breakthrough moments yourself, or if you're seeking inspiration for the next one. Listen to The Build with Mike O'Sullivan wherever you get your podcasts. So then from that point, I'm curious about how you've progressed and matured it, right? And there's lots of stories there, I'm certain. I'm maturing timescale and then moving into what is now Tiger Data. Tell me about that process. And I think to wrap it in a box a little bit, what I'm looking for is, how do you build your roadmap? How do you go about deciding that, okay, this is the next most important thing to build or to address?
I think it's two ways. And the first is how we built Timescale in the first place, which is you kind of scratch your own itch. You say, hey, this thing is really bugging me and no one else is solving it. And what if we solved it? I think the second thing you do is you just listen to the market. You just listen and you say, like when we launched Timescale DB, we thought 2017, we thought this was a thing for IoT. And we saw all these users using us in fintech and crypto and other areas. And we were like, oh, this is much bigger than just IoT. And again, more recently, as we're continuing to build on their database platform, a lot of us are actually using coding agents or building with agents. And I firmly believe agents are the new developer. They're the new coworker. They're the new assistant. And we're like, you know what? Postgres is great, but it doesn't feel like it's really designed for this modern world. What would it look like if we could modernize Postgres just so even we could use it with our agents? And that's where some of our newer things came out of, like Ghost, which we officially launched this week. And so I think in my mind, I think there's two ways to do it. First is you kind of look at your own needs, scratch your own itch. And then the second is you listen to the market. Now, the problem is the market will never tell you what it needs, but it'll tell you what their problem is. And then it's your job as the entrepreneur or founder or whatever to listen to that and be like, oh, but what if we could solve that? What would that look like? So that's been our philosophy.
Let's flip over to team then, right? To accomplish something like this, you got to have the right team. Tell me about how you built that team and what you look for in those people to indicate that they were the winning horses to join you.
Team, it really is everything. And it's a cliche, but I think it's a cliche for a reason. I have found that success comes from getting the right people on the bus or getting the right people on board, pointing them in the right direction, and then just letting them run. Let them run and take any obstacle out of their way. And I've learned this the hard way. You get some people who seem talented, who maybe aren't as successful. You say, why? How can I get them more successful? And the reality is you can't. I think you need to find people who are intrinsically motivated, who are hungry, scrappy, get stuff done. And so I think that's what we've done. And I think it's something that I think in the beginning, we had to really interview for that and, weed out people who we thought would not be able to fit that. But over time, the culture ends up developing its own immune system, so to speak, where at some point someone comes in, but it feels they can't. Number one value is get shit done. If they can't get shit done, then the company will say, wait, they're not a good fit. So I think it's to get the right people on board and the culture then forms around that.
This episode is sponsored by Mesmo. If you're responsible for reliability, performance, or platform architecture, you already know the problem. Telemetry volume is growing faster than teams can manage it. Mesmo addresses this by moving observability upstream. Instead of storing everything and asking questions later, Mesmo processes telemetry in motion, filtering, transforming, and enriching logs, metrics, and traces before they reach your observability backend. The result is cleaner data, reduced ingestion costs, and faster root cause analysis using the tools you already rely on. Mesmo integrates with platforms like Datadog, Dynatrace, and open source stacks, giving teams more control without adding operational overhead. This is especially useful for platform engineers and SREs supporting complex distributed systems where context and speed matter. To see how active telemetry works in practice, get a demo at mesmo.com/codestory. That's MEZMO.com/codestory. This episode is sponsored by BrainGrid. Building with AI coding tools is exciting until the moment things start breaking. You ask for a small change and suddenly 3 other features stop working. AI gets confused, misses edge cases, and loses track of your intent. The problem is not code generation. The problem is planning. That is why BrainGrid exists. BrainGrid acts as your product management agent. It writes clear specification, maps UX flows, asks the clarifying questions you forgot to ask, and breaks big ideas into engineering-grade tasks that AI coding tools can build reliably. It guides Cursor, Claude Code, Replit, Windsurf, and others so they deliver features that work and keep working. Founders use BrainGrid to build real AI-native SaaS products without a technical background. If you want reliable features instead of fragile prototypes, try BrainGrid for free at braingrid.ai. That's braingrid.ai. Let's move into scalability. And this is obviously baked into your bread and butter. I'm curious about how you approached that in the beginning, and if there's been interesting areas where you've had to fight scale as you've grown.
I think organizational scale is interesting. One thing I have found as a founder is that, and as a CEO, is that your job changes every 6 months. And in fact, the thing that was the right thing to do 6 months ago might be the exact wrong thing to do today. There's situations where 6 months ago, maybe I had to get super involved in solving certain types of problems. But now, because the company has grown and scaled and hired some people or hired some teams, if I get involved, I'm actually going to get in the way. And so I think that is a challenge about scaling, is that as you scale, things will break. And sometimes it's some of the things that you thought were your best policies or behaviors or even systems. But you need to be okay with that, and you need to be aware and then evolve. I think you have to constantly ask yourself and constantly ask your team, like, hey, like, what's not working? What could be better? If you could maybe wave a magic wand, what would you fix? And then you try to fix it. And then maybe that works for 6 months, and then you do it again. And so I guess when you're in a process of scaling, I think you just have to be okay with things constantly breaking, because that's a sign that you're growing.
Ajay, as you step out on the balcony and you look across all that you've built thus far with Tiger Data, what are you most proud of?
The thing that I'm most proud of is our resilience. I think it is easy to do well when times are good. But there's some ancient proverb, I forget where it's from, but smooth seas don't make strong sailors. It's easy to be a sailor when the seas are smooth, but when they're choppy, that's when you really become strong. And as a company, we've gone through ups and downs. The industry's gone through ups and downs. We're in an upswing right now, which is nice, but we've seen this before, and we know that it doesn't always last. And I think I've been most proud by our resilience as a company and our ability to stay motivated, excited, optimistic. Of course, when times are good, but man, when times are not good. And I think that's the only way to build a company. You can't run at the first sign of trouble. You can't lay down at the first sign of trouble. You got to keep fighting. And I think we're a company built of fighters. I'm very proud of that.
Let's flip the script a little bit. Tell me about a mistake you made and how you and your team responded to it.
First is, dude, when we started, we thought we knew what we were doing. Obviously we didn't. And this is my first time really building an open source database company. And I had never done open source database sales. And so we brought in these advisors and had people help us. And oftentimes they'd be like, what? Why that way? Why? And they'd be like, no, that's the way it's done. Okay, cool. Like, what do I know? And my mistake was not to trust my instinct, because it turns out that in rapidly changing industries like database, like software, like AI, experience can become a liability. And my mistake was not early on trusting my instinct versus being like, oh, they're an expert, and deferring to experts. Now, I think there is value in experience, but as long as you temper it with, hey, which of my priors, which of my assumptions might be different now? I'd say that's number one. And I've gone through a lot of bad hires on my part for that reason. I think a second mistake, and we've gotten better at this, but of course we can get better. Any company, any founder, it's always tempting to go after the next shiny thing. Oh, it's crypto. Oh, it's vector databases. Oh, it's AI. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. And the reality and the thing, what we've learned is that you don't get successful by chasing the next shiny thing. You're successful by believing in something, having conviction when it's not shiny, and then being right so that when it becomes shiny, you're already there and you're already growing. So I think those are maybe the two lessons is that, hey, experience isn't always a good thing. And oftentimes in fast moving industries, it can be a liability. And the second is, it's not about chasing the shiny thing. It's about having conviction. And it's even better if your conviction is in something that is not shiny today, because that means that when it does become shiny, you'll be in the forefront. The way you sold databases back then was like, you sold on-prem software, you sold top-down. It was all about a real enterprise sales-led motion with 9 to 18-month sales cycles. And we had a kind of a nascent cloud business at that time. And I remember I had a sales leader, great individual, great human being, but came from the old world. every weekly update, he would ignore the cloud business and just focus on his legacy. And I remember thinking, I think the cloud business is going to be bigger. That's where the future is. It might sound crazy. Yeah, man, like a year later, we went all in on cloud, and that was the vast majority of our revenue. And so, dude, it's real, man. It's real. And as a founder, you're going to make mistakes. But if you have a voice in your head that's telling you something, I think it behooves you to listen to that voice.
This episode is sponsored by Unblocked. Your coding agents have access to your code base. Maybe you even connected other tools via MCPs. But access doesn't mean context. Agents can't reason across MCPs. They don't know your architectural decisions, your team's patterns, or why the API was shaped the way it is. So agents look in the wrong place and deliver bad outputs. Then you spend time correcting. More loops, more tokens. Unblocked is the context layer your agents are missing. It synthesizes your PRs, docs, Slack, and tickets into organizational context that agents actually understand. So they make better plans, write higher quality code, use fewer tokens, and require fewer correction loops. If you're running Claude Code, Cursor, or any agentic workflow, Unblocked is worth a look. Learn more at getunblocked.com/codestory. Okay, let's move forward then. Tell me what the future looks like for Tiger Data. So now you've come to this point. The industry is moving and shaking. Tell me about what the future looks like and where you're taking the company and the product.
It's obviously being a database company. We feel very good about that, where we are in the market. Data is everywhere. It's only compounding. And even if the SaaS apocalypse happens or agents take over, data is still going to be underlying all that. So I feel good about that. Our bet on Postgres has been totally right. It's become the leading database. And so continue to embrace that. I think in terms of a business, I think the two areas where we're finding the most opportunity to really help customers, help companies out there. One is in the physical world. So again, getting back to our IoT roots, helping companies who make hardware or make software with hardware. That might be manufacturing, that might be in the electrical vehicle ecosystem, they might be in oil and gas, they might be in other energy, they might be battery companies, might be nuclear fusion companies. These are all customers that we have. They might be customers like Cerebras who are making next generation chips, right? And what I think really found is that world, the physical world, has a ton of data, and we are uniquely suited to serve them. So I think you'll see more from us there in terms of serving the physical world and challenges they have. And then the second trend is just agents, man. I totally believe agents are the new developer. They're the new thing. It's the next packaging of software. And again, our philosophy isn't anytime a new trend comes, that you rebuild everything from scratch. Our philosophy is when a new trend comes, you take what's working and you make it better. And so you'll see us continue to make Postgres better for agents in line with that philosophy.
Okay, Ajay, let's switch to you. Who influences the way that you work? Name a person or many persons or something you look up to and why.
In the past few years, I've become a huge fan of Stoicism. I love the philosophy of Stoicism. Number one, it's like focus on what you can control. And as a founder, wow, man, yeah, that's very valuable. Another one is, and I think this is Marcus Aurelius who said this, is that if you're not happy with what you currently have, then you could rule the world and you would still be unhappy. So there's an interesting balance where as an entrepreneur, you need to be hungry and keep striving for the next thing. But as a person, you also have to be grateful for what you currently have. Everything is a gift. I think that's another philosophy, right? Everything is a gift. Whatever things you have in your life come and go, and just be grateful to the time you had with them, whether they're people or objects or whatever. So, dude, man, I love Stoicism. I'm a big fan of just striving to think clearly and being like, dude, at the end of the day, we're all going to die. We're all going to die. You can't take any of this with you, no matter what your religious beliefs are. Live your life with that kind of purpose and meaning. That's what I strive for. I'm not a hardcore as some people, but I'm a Tony Robbins fan. And one thing he talks about is problems don't happen to you, they happen for you. And problems happen for you. And I find that so powerful. And the idea isn't that this literally happened for you, but the idea is that like when something happens, you just think about what good comes out of it. How do you find the gratitude in it? And I find that so powerful that like, instead of beating yourself up, you embrace it. You embrace the struggle. You embrace it as a gift because it's happening for you.
Okay, last question. So you're getting on a plane and you're sitting next to a young entrepreneur who's built the next big thing. They're jazzed about it. They can't wait to show it off to the world, and can't wait to show it off to you right there on the plane. What advice do you give that person, having gone down this road a bit, several times?
3 words that I repeat to myself in this journey. The first is play. That if you approach this journey, if you approach it if you look at it like, oh, this is going to be a struggle, this is going to be a lot of work, then it's going to suck. Like, you have an awful time, right? You have to approach it like play. You're just a kid playing. You're a kid playing, and you're building this company. You're solving this problem because you enjoy it. You love it. And which also means that, hey, do something you love, right? Because the money will come and go. And yeah, again, when things are good, when the seas are smooth, it's easy. But the key is sticking through and building a team that sticks through when the seas get choppy. And I think that comes from a sense of play. My second tenet is love. I'm also a big Star Wars fan. I'm not sure if you are, but I believe with anything, there's a light side and a dark side approach to things. I know some people who have a chip on their shoulder and are motivated because they want to prove someone wrong. And I'm not saying that's bad or the wrong thing to do. I'm saying that it can get unhealthy because you end up like eating yourself alive. And so I approach things from a position of love. Just, man, yeah, I love that I get to do this. I love I get to prove myself. Let's go. And I equate that to the Jedi or the light side of the Force. And the third word is triumph, man. There's so many people, especially entrepreneurs, who are like, they accomplish something but it's the next thing. And they're like, oh man, I'm a $50 million business, but when I get to 100, I'll be happy. Okay, now you get to 100. You're like, I want to get to 200, I'll be happy. Get to 200, you're like, I want to get to $1 billion. There's no finish line, right? Like Simon Sinek talks about the infinite game. The big book called The Infinite Game. There's no finish line. The game never ends. Slack was acquired for $28 billion by Salesforce. And people were like, oh man, Slack really totally lost to Microsoft Teams. They're like, $28 billion? Come on. And so in my mind, it's triumph. Like you've already won. Be proud of what you've already built because it's been fucking hard. And then you might ask, then what motivates you? It's the first two. It's play and love. You've already run, but I'm still doing this because I enjoy it. I feel like I'm a kid playing in like a sandbox, and I do it out of love because I love working with the people I get to work with, the challenges we get to take on. And every day isn't easy, but if you approach it, I think with that perspective, this is what I tell the young entrepreneur. Yeah, you'll be able to just, man, like you will thrive, you will succeed, you will be able to ride out any storm and make it out on the other side.
I certainly appreciate that advice and those 3 words. I appreciate you sharing those. Well, Ajay, thank you for being on the show today. Thank you for telling the creation story of Tiger Data.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And this concludes another chapter of Code Story. Code Story is hosted and produced by Noah Labhart. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting app of your choice. And when you get a chance, leave us a review. Both things help us out tremendously. And thanks again for listening.
Capital One's tech team isn't just talking about multi-agentic AI. They already deployed one. It's called Chat Concierge, and it's simplifying car shopping. Using self-reflection and layered reasoning with live API checks, it doesn't just help buyers find a car they love. It helps schedule a test drive, get pre-approved for financing, and estimate trade-in value. Advanced, intuitive, and deployed. That's how they stack. That's technology at Capital One.